Have you ever had diarrhea and wondered why is this happening and what medicine should I take? There are several kinds of anti-diarrheal medicines and they don't all work in the same way. Today I want to explain them in a very simple way. Normally, as food moves through our intestines, normally as food moves through our intestines absorb water from the intestinal content. But if the contents of the intestines move too quickly, there may be less time to absorb the water. So more water stays in the stool, and that can result in watery diarrhea. Now let's look at the different medicines. First, loperamide. Loperamide works mainly by slowing down the movement of the intestines. So if things are moving too quickly, loperamide slows them down. This gives This gives the intestines more time to absorb water. So the basic idea is slower movement, more time to absorb water, and less watery stool. But we shouldn't always try to stop diarrhea. Diarrhea may be part of the body's way of getting rid of infectious material. So if you have blood in your stool, a high fever, or severe abdominal pain, you should be especially careful about using loperamide and should seek medical advice. Next is diosmectite. Diosmectite works differently from loperamide. It can absorb or bind to certain substances in the intestine. Absorb means something sticks to the surface. So diosmectite can bind to certain substances, including some toxins in the intestine. But that's not all. Diosmectite can also adhere to the intestinal lining. And form a protective coating over it. So you can think of diosmectite as doing two things. It can bind to certain substances in the intestine and it can form a protective layer over the intestinal lining. This protective layer can help protect the intestinal lining from irritation. Next is bismuth. Bismuth can help reduce intestinal secretion. Secretion simply means the release of a substance. So when we say bismuth can reduce intestinal secretion, it means it can reduce the amount of fluid being released into the intestine. Next, let's talk about probiotics. Probiotics are different from these medicines. They don't immediately stop diarrhea. Instead, they may help support the balance of microorganisms in our intestines. And finally, we have oral rehydration solution, or ORS. It replaces the water and electrolytes that we lose when we have diarrhea. This is very important because dehydration can be one of the biggest problems caused by diarrhea. So let's remember the main differences. Loperamide slows down the intestines. Diosmectite can bind to certain substances and can form a protective coating over the intestinal lining. Bismuth can reduce intestinal secretion. Probiotics may support the balance of microorganisms in the gut. An oral rehydration solution replaces the water and electrolytes we lose. So as you can see, these treatments don't all work in the same way. And there's one more interesting question. What if your stomach hurts because you simply ate too much? Should you automatically take an anti-diarrheal? Not necessarily. If the problem is simply overeating, loperamide doesn't make the food digest faster. It actually slows intestinal movement. And remember, diarrhea is a symptom, not a disease. So before we try to stop diarrhea, it's important to think about why it's happening. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Thank you for watching.